Are you looking for ways to improve your vocabulary and reading comprehension? Maybe you're trying to figure out what books you can read that will help you improve your English the most. Maybe you've been stuck reading boring books like classic literature that you don't think are really helping you out. Well, I'm here to tell you that reading is a really effective way to improve your English vocabulary skills. That's why I made this video. In this video, not only will I give you tips on how to best read to improve your English, but I'm also going to give you a list of over 15 English books that I think will help you the most. Hey guys, welcome to English with Gabby. I'm Gabby, and in my 10 years of being an English teacher here in New York City, I've had so many students ask me, Gabby, what are some great books that I can read to improve my vocabulary and reading skills? Before we get started, make sure that you hit subscribe below so that you can always get notified when I post a new video. Are you ready? Here we go. First, I'm going to start off with giving you 5 tips on how to use reading to best improve your English. Number 1 is the most important. Choose the right book. Pick something that you love. Pick a genre or category or type that you would read in your own language. Just find that same book in English or something similar to it, and that will help you the most. Remember that you want something that you're looking forward to reading, not something that you feel like you have to do. According to science, people learn more when they do something that they enjoy. So pick a book that you like. Which leads to tip number 2. Stay away from classic literature unless you love it. So many students tell me that they read classic literature books in English, and I always ask them, why? Most students start with classic literature because they don't really know many modern books that they can read. The problem with classic literature, as amazing as these books might be, is that they use outdated language. Most of the time, these books have lots of words that we don't use anymore, or even forms of grammar that we don't use anymore. Instead, I typically recommend that my students read young adult literature. Young adult fiction and fantasy is not only fun and popular, but it has modern language that you can use every single day. This leads to tip number 3. Pick books that have been turned into movies. This gives you extra practice because after you read the book or before, you can watch the movie and familiarize yourself with the story. It's also a good way to reinforce a lot of the grammar and vocabulary that you read in the book. My biggest tip that I tell my students every single week, anytime we're doing any type of reading activity in class, don't use a translator or a dictionary. I'm gonna say this again. Don't use a translator or a dictionary. Now first, if you are a beginner or elementary level student, then go ahead and use a translator or a dictionary. You have my permission. However, anyone who's especially intermediate level and above, using a dictionary or a translator does not help you. Scientifically speaking, you remember something more when you figure it out through context. And let me also give you a tip. When you're speaking to an American, if you don't understand something, do you want to tell them, wait, hold on, let me check my translator? No, you don't want to tell them that. Instead, you want to be able to figure out what they're saying through the context. This is why you shouldn't use a translator or dictionary while you're reading. What you do instead is read through the entire chapter, underline or highlight any words you don't know, and then look them up later, not in the moment. The last one is find some kind of book club to join. If you search online, you'll find tons of book clubs and forums where people read books together and then discuss them. This is a great way not only to improve your reading, but to improve your speaking and listening as well. So go ahead and try to find a book club. Start with Facebook and then do a simple Google search and you'll find hundreds of options. Now that I gave you the tips on how best to use reading, now let me recommend some books to you. Down in the description, I've put some timestamps. If you are a higher level student, you can go ahead and fast forward. But if you want to hear all of these books, they'll all benefit you in some way. So let's get started. First, for my beginners, I just want to tell you not to be afraid to read children's books. I have a 2.5-year-old son, and I've noticed that he learns English in a great way by being exposed to English daily. When I read him books, I see really good vocabulary words that I know a lot of students wouldn't know. So don't be embarrassed, don't be afraid to start with children's books. So let me give you some books that you can read, and I'll link below to some of these books on Amazon. The first book is Charlotte's Web. This is a great childhood story that you probably read as a child. The next book is Where the Wild Things Are. Again, this is a story that we all grow up with, and it's a great place to start for beginners. The Story of Ferdinand is a really great children's book that has very, very good vocabulary that every English speaker should know. The next book is Animal Farm. This is a little bit challenging for someone who's at the beginner level, but it's a great book to read. Another good book to read is the book Refugee Boy. Not only is this book great, but it has a great story. Another good book is The Curious Incident. And another great book is Malala. Most people are familiar with her story. You can start here. Now for all of the intermediate level students out there, here are some books for you. The first book is Eat, Pray, Love. Now, even if you're a higher level student, I highly recommend that you read this book. Countless students have told me that they've read this book and loved it, and then they saw the movie with Julia Roberts. This is about a woman who leaves everything behind to travel the world. Pretty interesting concept. The next book is one of my personal favorites, The Outsiders. This is a typical book that Americans read in junior high school or middle school. Very interesting story about a group of friends living in the 50s. The next book is The Giver. The Giver is a really interesting story, and it's also been turned into a movie. This is a famous book, and you may have even read it in your own language, but I highly recommend it for students who are intermediate and up. This next book is a classic, Of Mice and Men. Now, I know I told you to stay away from classic literature, but Of Mice and Men is a really great book. Not only that, but we reference this book a lot in American culture. So if you're going to be living in the United States, this is a great book to read because it'll help you connect with people. The next book is The Kite Runner. This is a really great book for higher intermediate students or intermediate students as well. The last book is a business book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is a bestseller here in the USA, and it's a great book for anyone who's interested in business. Last but not least, books for my higher level students. By higher level students, I typically am referring to higher intermediate and above, B2, C1, and C2. Now here's the good news. We have an expression in English which is the world is your oyster. That means you have so many options on what books to choose. But here's a little tip. I really want you to make sure that you are at the right level, because if you're an intermediate student who wants to read a higher level book, it honestly won't help you as much as if you read an intermediate level book. So here's the test. After I give you this list of books, I want you to go online and check out a sample. If you don't understand half of everything that you're reading, that means that these books are too challenging for you. Go back to the intermediate level books, try those, and then once you successfully read those, move on to this list. You don't want to read a book that's too difficult for you, because you're going to be stuck with vocabulary word after vocabulary word that you don't know. The first book series that I'm going to recommend is one of my personal favorites, The Hunger Games books. This is a book series that have also been turned into movies, and they are really interesting and very culturally appropriate. Pick the first book in the series and see how you like it. The next book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is a great business book that was a bestseller here in the USA, and it really helps you with how to communicate with people and how to be better at relationships, which definitely will help you improve your English. Next, I'm going to give you some authors and specific books that you can read. But know that these authors are really great overall, and you can pick any books that they've written and it'll improve your English. The first author is Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie is a really great mystery novelist. Many of her books have been turned into movies. The main book that I recommend is And Then There Were None. This is a really popular book that most American students have to read in high school. It will definitely keep you interested. Maybe it'll even keep you up late at night trying to figure out the mystery. The next author is John Grisham. He's one of the highest selling authors in American history, and all of his books have been turned into movies. I recommend specifically The Pelican Brief, A Time to Kill, and The Firm. If you're not sure how you feel about his books, watch some of his movies first, and then if you like them, move on to the books. The last author is one of the most popular recent authors, and that is Dan Brown. Dan Brown writes a lot of mystery and thriller books, including Angels and Demons, Deception Point, and Digital Fortress. Anyone out there who loves romance novels, I highly recommend Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks has written many famous romance books, including The Notebook. You can read any of his books and they'll definitely challenge you by exposing you to new vocabulary. Now, here's one thing. A lot of students have asked me if they should read Harry Potter books in English. My answer is it depends. Now, I am a Potterhead. That means I love Harry Potter. I've written every book in the series, watched the movies countless times. I love Harry Potter. However, the language in Harry Potter is really difficult to understand because it's British English. When I was reading Harry Potter, there were some British words that we don't use in American English that even I had to look up in the dictionary. So if you really love Harry Potter, I suggest try to read the books in English, and we'll see how it goes. And if you're struggling, just know that you're not alone. It's very normal to struggle while reading Harry Potter in English. If you liked the video so far, and if you're getting some good stuff out of it, make sure to hit the like button below. What are some other books that I didn't talk about that you've used to improve your English? Write them in the comments so that the other students can learn about these books as well. Well guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to share this video with a friend so that they can improve their English too. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!